Hey, this is Bryce and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Jacket Trades. In this video, I'm going to go over all of the RC Beetle kits that are out and available on the market today. This video goes out to Mark. Your dad was asking me about some of the RC Beetle kits that are available out there and what I would recommend for a kit. So this channel is not really tailored for children, but I do have friends and their kids watch the channel, and I think it's cool to hear that they get excited about some of the things that we show on the channel. So Mark, this video goes out to you. So I was actually surprised once I started thinking about it how many RC Beetle kits are still available and still in production, and you can get them from like Tower Hobbies, A-Main, even eBay at reasonable prices. So I'm going to go over real briefly some of these kits and some of the advantages, disadvantages, and discuss some of the features that each kit has, kind of a price point, and hopefully that'll help Mark's dad make an informed decision. Alright, so let's start with this one. So this is the only one of my collection that I've actually built. This is the Tamiya Rally Beetle. So it's a classic bug body on an MFO1X chassis. This is kind of a modular chassis where you can change the wheelbase depending on what inserts you put into it. It is four-wheel drive, so that's somewhat unique. However, it does have friction shock, so no damping whatsoever, which means it bounces like a pogo stick, especially that rear end. I've actually put a brushless motor on this. It's probably a little overkill, so that rear end's a little heavy and you get a lot of bouncing. But this is actually a fun car to build and drive. There's a lot of detail in the body. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for a kid because when I think of a kid driving a car, I kind of think of them taking the car out and just bashing the snot out of it. I don't drive this car very often because it is fast and I don't want to roll it. So it kind of sits on the shelf, and it looks nice on the shelf, but it is a fun car. So this kit goes for about $156 on Tower Hobbies, and the Tamiya kit number is 58650. But this is more of an adult kit. I would not recommend this for a kid for their first RC kit. So speaking of adult kits, let's get into the classic Tamiya Sand Scorcher. So this is a re-release of the Sand Scorcher from 1979, which came out under kit number 58016. So it was Tamiya's 16th car in their collection of RC cars. It's based on the SRB chassis. This, unlike this car here, this comes with a hard body, so you have to paint it on the outside. It does come with an ESC and a motor. It features a lot of die-cast aluminum parts, so the gearbox, the arms. It does have full ball bearings, which is not typical for Tamiya cars. Like this car here comes with plastic bushings, so you'll want to get a bearing kit to replace those bushings with bearings. Of all the Beetle kits, this is the most expensive one. It retails for $410, and the kit number is 58452. But if you're looking for that kind of vintage nostalgic build, this would be one of the kits to go with. Now, moving on to, since we're talking about vintage re-res, we have the Kyosho OffRoad Beetle. Or actually, this is just the Beetle. So this kit is part of Kyosho's Legendary series. The kit number is 30614. This retails for about $270. Sorry. It is built upon the Kyosho Scorpion 2014 chassis. So what Kyosho does with their Legendary series is they take some of their vintage cars. This car is actually first released in the 80s. And they do modern upgrades to it so that it can handle modern motor power plants and just improve things that were known issues back in the day. So this does feature aluminum suspension, gearbox, kind of a hybrid chassis with aluminum rails, and then a plastic bathtub. This kit also features aluminum oil-filled shocks, as well as a slipper and a Lex end body, which means you have to paint it from the inside. It's a cool looking buggy. But it is kind of one of those vintage re kits that I would probably steer clear of if a kid's getting into their first kit. So this kit does not come with an ESC or a motor, so you would need to get in addition to the radio gear, you would need to come up with a speed controller and a motor for the car. I think that's probably fine if you already know right off the bat you want to do an upgrade on the motor ESC. It's kind of different schools of thought and whether you're going to upgrade the car or just stick with kind of box stock. So moving on, we get into let's get into the Monster Beetle. I'm going to save what I think is the best for last. Alright, so now we have the Monster Beetle. So this kit is a re from when it was first released in 1986. The kit number for this is 58618, and it retails for about $212 on Tower Hobbies. This is what I would classify as kind of a fun monster car slash monster truck. It's built upon the Blackfoot chassis, so it's a classic chassis with CRV oil-filled shocks. It does feature a hard body, so you have to paint that from the outside. And it does come with an ESC and motor. But this is kind of a classic platform for Tamiya, and it's one of these classic iconic Tamiya kits. Now we get into kind of a variant of the Monster Beetle, which is the Monster Beetle Trail. And there's a lot of people that don't like this kit. To me, it kind of looks like a comical kit. Tamiya does these comical kits where they're kind of smushed kits, and they're just cars that really want to wheelie. So when I see this kit, that's kind of what it reminds me of, is those comical kits. So this is based on the GFO1 TR chassis. So the GFO1 chassis is it's a mid-motor monocoque chassis. So the motor is kind of in the middle of the transmission, and then there's a kind of a long gear train that gets power from the motor to the front and rear axle. It's a little convoluted, but it's simple in its execution. And the TR basically puts portal axles on that chassis and drops the axles of the wheels lower so that you get more ground clearance through the middle of the chassis. This kit came out in 2019. It's still in production. It retails for about $271. So this kit doesn't come with bearings. It uses bushings. It does come with an ESC and a motor, and it uses friction shocks. It also features a hard shell body. So it's a body you would have to paint from the outside. But it's an interesting kit. A lot of people, some people like it, some people don't. It's kind of one of those polarizing kits. But it's out there if this is the route you would want to go. So the last kit in the collection of Beetles is the Blitzer Beetle. This kit originally came out in 2011, and then they started doing re-res. The kit number is 58502, and it retails for around $210. This kit is based on the Falcon chassis, which is the bathtub chassis. But I think everything beyond that, front and rear, is slightly different. I would actually say this is more in line with a Tamiya Bearhawk chassis, because the parts are almost identical with the exception of the color of the parts. And I think it has a slightly different final gear reduction in the transmission, but my first RC was a Tamiya Bearhawk, and one of the reasons I got turned on to this kit is because I can pull a lot of parts from this kit to do a Bearhawk restoration, and that's kind of how I discovered this kit. One of the advantages of this kit over the Bearhawk is that it does feature the CVA oil-filled shocks versus the friction shocks that were on the Bearhawk. Of all the Beetles that are out there, I would say this is probably the most capable and the funnest car to run. I would say second to this would be the Monster Beetle, and then maybe the Kyosho Beetle, then maybe the Monster Beetle Trail, and then the Sand Scorcher, and this kind of coming last. That's based on off-road running. This is kind of a on-road baseball diamond type car where you can take it off-road, but I wouldn't jump it. Whereas this you could take to your local track and hit the jumps. And it would probably perform okay compared to the other Beetles here. And there's things you could probably do to, well, there are things you could probably do to upgrade this, though it's a less supported platform. So this kit does come with an ESC and a motor, but it does not come with ball bearings, just plastic bushings, so you would want to upgrade those to bearings. But otherwise, this is probably my favorite kit of the group for a runner. If you want to have a great build experience, I would go with one of these two here. And if you just want something fun to play with, especially for a younger audience, I would go with the Monster Beetle Trail or the Monster Beetle. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about running the car, for me it would be between the Blitzer Beetle and the Monster Beetle. So yeah, that's all I got. I hope that helps in your decision, Mark. But there are some options out there, and they're pretty diverse in their features. So these are my opinions, and obviously I haven't built a lot of these kits, so I don't have any first-hand experience. If you could recommend a first RC kit for a kid between 8 and 12, what would you recommend in this collection of Beetles? For me, I still think it would be either the Blitzer Beetle or the Monster Beetle. I'd like to hear what other people have to say about that. Would you recommend these kind of re-res for a first-time build? Or would you recommend the Monster Beetle Trail for a first-time build? Or even the rally car, Is this on the table for someone's first RC? Go ahead and comment below. And thank you for tuning in. Take care. Bye.